estate because they want to live in it.
But like most of the people who are buying assets at some point want to sell the assets at a profit.
People that use fiat currency as a store of value, we call them poor. We call them poor. People that use fiat currency, we call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. There's a name for them. We call them poor. We call them poor. Okay? Right, like, the point is, if you have the superior asset, it's going up forever, Laura. Forever.
Right, but we can all look Bitcoin sort of as
Forever, Laura. People that use fiat currency as a store of value, we call them poor. We call them poor. People that use fiat currency, we call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. There's a name for them. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor.
Woohoo! I think we are live officially.
Oh,
Super exciting. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Welcome to the Magic Eden live stream. It's going to be a pretty exciting hour that we have today with no other than the Ordinals founder himself, Casey Rodomar, and Aaron, his accomplice, and all things. I don't even know, Aaron, I feel like you just do like a million things, like everything from inscribing Atlantis and hosting all these conferences to the podcast. And anyway, we're going to get to all that. But just wanted to say this is going to be an AMA as well. So please feel free to drop some questions, comments, witticisms, whatever you want into the chat.
That's right. That's what they're known for.
Drop some witticisms, please.
And we'll just get this started. But also, we're going to have a Rare Sats giveaway. And we'll talk about what Rare Sats are. But essentially, we're going to be giving away Bitcoin, which is exciting. And not just any Bitcoin. They're going to be really special Bitcoin. Yes, there's a way that you can find unique Bitcoins on the blockchain. Also, thanks to Casey for indexing all of this for us. And so we'll talk about those. And basically, we're going to be giving away $100 worth. So be sure to stay active in the chats, and we will announce the winner at the end. But yeah, I think I'm especially excited to be hosting this space today because Magic Eden just has such an incredible cross-chain reach. And I thought no better than to bring Casey directly on here, and we can just break it all down. I feel like we don't want to be somebody like a community that's in our own silo and not onboarding other chains and other users from other chains. We're very much open to people asking questions about ordinals, about runes, and learning. And we're here to break it down with the best of the best. With that said, would be super happy to kick it off. Maybe with a little introduction for both of you guys. How did you get even started in the space? And then I think we can move on to like what are ordinals and go on from there. But first of all, how are you guys doing? I saw you were in DC at the crypto ball.
In DC for the crypto ball.
Yeah, we were the exit liquidity for the Trump meme coin.
Yeah, it was very surreal. We're entering a new political era of Bitcoin, which is fun but also scary. The government is a scary, capricious, stupid beast. So we don't know what's going to happen. They're like idiots too, which is like a problem, and they're sort of unconstrained by reason. So it could be both positive or very negative.
Yeah,
So,
there's like equal probability that we get a strategic Bitcoin reserve as we get like a strategic meme coin reserve at this point. So that was definitely a big takeaway from the weekend overall, was like, yeah, there's kind of this like ambient bullishness, but it's extremely like randomly directed, and it seems very unclear where it's going.
Yeah.
I think still Ross is not freed yet, right? Is that true?
Yeah. I mean,
that's my barometer for like any of this, is like free Ross, and then that feels like an indicator that maybe other things will happen as well. But
right.
I don't know.
Promises. I was pretty hopeful to see the Elon tweet. I feel like Elon will, we'll see things come to fruition, hopefully. But anyway, not to get too far down the political rabbit trail here, but I will say it is like, you guys looked incredible at the crypto ball, and it was cool to see Ordinals represented there. Bitcoin, mainstream adoption to a degree. Maybe despite missing this this Trump token, I think we were all definitely eyes peeled, eyes frozen on the screen this past weekend. So if we're a little bit like googly eyed, that might be why.
Yeah, it simultaneously feels like everything happened and like nothing happened at the same time. It's a very weird feeling.
Well, you realize that like politics is fucking boring and the government doesn't actually do anything. So, it's like, yep, back to usual, like nothing happening. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get back on track with Ordinals specifically here, but I think it is definitely a hopeful sign to see somebody who is pro crypto in general come into office, and let's see how that goes, what that means for the space in the long term, regardless of how people feel specifically around his token.
And I really enjoy the recorded drifting seemingly at random, oh, look, it's a Trump coin. Oh, look, the Melania coin is like rugged to the Trump coin. Like, oh, it's so dumb. It's great.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Wild West. But anyway, it's also been pretty exciting and interesting to see how Ordinals and runes have been really surging the past couple of days. And I think that also kind of goes to show like people, once they play out their degen trades on, elsewhere, they ultimately come back to Bitcoin, and that's where they have a more longer term conviction. And I think that's something that's so exciting about now we have things like Bitcoin meme coins, Bitcoin tokens, Bitcoin AI coins. Mm-hmm. We have this directly on
the Bitcoin AI coins. Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, the AI blockchain thing is actually, okay. So that like the AI cryptocurrencies, it's one of my biggest pet peeves. I think that the idea that there's any meaningful connection between blockchain and cryptocurrency is just like completely laughable. And it's like the way that somebody is like an idiot if they're not you, Elizabeth Olsen, other people, who are like founders of like AI tokens. But I do actually think that the runes AI meme coins are the purest incarnation of AI on the blockchain, because it's not even like there's AI technology. It's not like there's like AI network or like cloud computation or anything like that. It's like, no, we have a bot which tweets 24/7 AI generated tweets about our coin. That is purity. That is purity. It's just pure hype. There's zero pretension about AI on the blockchain. It's AI on Twitter pumping the rune. So I at least appreciate the honesty there. You know?
Right. I mean, yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how people are really wedging crypto into the AI narrative and leveraging crypto also to fund AI projects. So I think it is an interesting shift that we're seeing here to get into, because I think last year it was like everybody was shifting from crypto into AI, and now we're seeing this merge, of the two. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this continues to develop. But let's rewind a little bit and go back to Ordinals. What are Ordinals? When did Ordinals come about? Actually, I think it's exciting just to even know that yesterday was the 2-year anniversary that Ordinals went live on Bitcoin mainnet. So what are Ordinals? What compelled you to create Ordinals? And then maybe we can, within that answer, talk about what are the differences between Ordinals and NFTs.
Sure. So my name is Casey Rodemore. I am just a normal software engineer. I worked at a bunch of, not a bunch of, but I worked at like some evil tech companies. I was a site reliability engineer at Google. I worked at Oculus on the most boring, not VR related stuff in the world. I very briefly was a Bitcoin core developer at Chain Code Labs, which is sort of a Bitcoin R&D company in New York. My tenure there was very short-lived. I was not a particularly good Bitcoin core developer. Bitcoin core is a very scary, large code base that moves very, very slowly. And I like to do weird experimental shit. I wish, in retrospect, I wish that I had figured out how I could have done more interesting things on core, because I actually think that I was looking at kind of narrowly at just like improvements to the Bitcoin core code base, when in reality, I probably could have figured out some interesting stuff to do. Anyways, so this all came about kind of because of Art Blocks, actually, which is a sort of very high value NFT collection on Ethereum. I've made some generative art before, often in the form of like weird experiments and live visuals for electronic music. And so I'd always done it as a hobby. It's kind of under the creative coding umbrella. There's no money to be made in it whatsoever. There wasn't any money to be made in it. And then Art Blocks came out, and I don't remember the specific collection, but I was like, okay, these are like very, very high value NFTs that people are buying that are produced via, creative coding, like generative art. I was like, okay, cool. Like maybe I should make some NFTs and try to sell them, right? So I
just ironic because so far you haven't made like any crazy collections that then like launched and like you
don't remind me. I mean, this whole thing, you listen, like I'm getting there. Okay. One day.
We're waiting.
So it's the classic programmer thing. Like you want to do X, so you do Y, and then you never get around to X. So I was like, okay, well maybe I'll make some NFTs on Ethereum. And I like wrote a little bit of Solidity, and I fooled around with the tools, and I read the standards, the ERC 721 standards, and all that stuff. And it was just horrible. It's just so horrible. Ethereum, the chain is really dumb. The tech is really complicated. Solidity is a really, really stupid, really dangerous language in the sense of just way too easy to shoot yourself in the foot. Ethereum NFTs, they're all, each collection is a different smart contract implementation. So you need to audit each collection separately. You're like, okay, are there security vulnerabilities in this contract? You can't audit ERC 721 because the NFT standard on Ethereum, because that is just the specification. Each collection has its own implementation. So you have to audit each collection separately to make sure that it doesn't have any security vulnerabilities, that it doesn't have like a dev backdoor or whatever. And then all the content is off-chain. All the content is on things like IPFS, which is basically like BitTorrent. When the last computer storing the JPEG goes offline, the data is not retrievable. In some cases, it's even worse because they use these hash functions that change and are not necessarily standardized. So if you don't know how it was hashed, you can be like boned. Even if you have the data, you can't get it back into the form that it hashes to the value that you want. Or Arweave, which is this weird blockchain that says that they do forever storage, which is a massive systemic risk. I personally think Arweave is going to collapse eventually. We've already seen data be lost forever, NFTs that just no longer have an image associated with them because nobody's holding on to it anymore. Anyway, so I saw this and I was just like horrified. I was like, this is horrible. Like, I can't do this. I won't feel good about writing my ERC 71 Solidity generative art NFTs. So I was like, all right, I'm like a Bitcoin maxi, pretty much. It's odd to say that, but I'm basically a Bitcoin maxi. And so it's like, all right, I gotta figure out how to do this on Bitcoin. And so I started noodling. And really the kind of thing that the core thing that Ordinals tries to solve is that in Bitcoin, you don't have accounts that are persistent, that have a persistent state that you can update easily. Bitcoin is based on the UTXO set model, which is basically these little piles of Bitcoin that when you get sent Bitcoin, it creates a UTXO that you own. And then when you spend Bitcoin, it destroys that UTXO and creates, a new UTXO that somebody else owns and maybe some change for yourself. So the core problem that I, was trying to solve was, how do you create these persistent objects on Bitcoin that you are able to transfer, that can serve the function of, associating a little bit of art with it, and so turning it into an NFT. And so the solution that I came up with was sort of an odd one, but I think it works pretty well, is to pretend that every single Satoshi on Bitcoin has a unique identity and can be tracked across transactions, so that when you have a UTXO, it's full of little Satoshis. And when you destroy that UTXO by spending it, the Satoshis don't go away. They go to a new UTXO, a new output of that transaction. And this kind of gives you the building block for creating NFTs on Bitcoin. I like to call them digital artifacts because I'm pretentious and I like making up words. But that's the core, is these little vessels, these little Satoshis that, instead of sort of being destroyed, they hop from transaction to transaction. And the way that you construct the transaction lets you control which address these little Satoshis jump to. So that's like part one. And I call them ordinals, after ordinal numbers, because they give a number to every single Satoshi. Ordinal numbers are like first, second, third. Those are ordinal numbers. And so in Bitcoin, you can talk about the first, second, third Satoshi that was ever created. And the second part of that is inscriptions. And those are the NFTs proper. And inscriptions are basically just a way of including data within a Bitcoin transaction, be it a JPEG or an SVG or HTML or any other kind of content, and assigning it to one of these little Satoshis that hops from transaction to transaction. So that, in a nutshell, is Ordinals. It's a very, very simple system, but it has a lot of nice properties. Like, you don't really need to audit inscriptions to make sure that they don't have a backdoor. If it's just an image inscription, you know that nobody can change it whatsoever, and every inscription behaves the same as every other inscription, as opposed to, like inscription NFTs that have a dev backdoor, or they get can get rugged, the images can get taken, whatever. Ordinals and inscriptions are all the same. They all have the same properties, so you can concentrate on the art and on the degeneracy securely. And like they're on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a very predictable, very safe change. We have a lot of confidence from the past and the current dev environment that there aren't going to be any radical changes to Bitcoin, that it's kind of going to keep the properties that it has. And also, I think for NFTs, they're like luxury goods, right? They're like these luxury goods. And so this makes Bitcoin a very natural fit, because you want your bling to be made out of gold, not, copper or something. And Bitcoin is, as we all know, digital gold. So it's perfect for fashioning your like blingy chains,
Yeah. And to take a quick pause there. So basically, TLDR for everybody tuning in here, Ordinals are on chain, unlike other NFTs. These are directly on chain. They're not stored in some IPFS server elsewhere.
They're never going away. The data that you put on in an inscription is literally in the most replicated and securely replicated database that humanity has ever had. It is never going away. Whatever bullshit you put on there, okay, it's there for good, for good and for ill.
So I feel like basically you essentially created NFTs as they were originally intended. And I think NFTs were initially kind of, the narrative behind them was something like this, is like they're on the blockchain, but really they weren't. So for the first time, we have something that is truly a digital artifact, which is so exciting. And I think, Aaron, we were kind of talking the other day about this story about some woman who had her NFT lost, like something got changed in the data.
Yeah, this was the tweet you sent me. Do you remember the
Yeah,
EKA? I don't remember her name. I think it's Eka, like EKA something.
Yeah,
she's an artist.
So I don't remember the exact details, but for NFTs on Ethereum, where the content is stored on IPFS, basically people rely on like pinning services. Pinning means that somebody has a computer running that's keeping the data on IPFS available. But what people don't realize is that when that pinning service goes away, the content goes away. So what happens a lot of the time is that, you'll have some like minting service on Ethereum, and people will go to that service and they'll upload their images to make the NFT. And then that service will be responsible for pinning it on IPFS, which basically just means like paying the server bills. In this case, I think a company was acquired or went out of business, and they basically just were like abandoning all of the content that they had pinned on IPFS, including all these like crazy grails. And no actual users are really aware of how this works. The big problem is that you can buy an Ethereum NFT and not realize that, like, okay, you are now the person who is incentivized to keep this content available, but they don't even know that they have that responsibility, that it has the possibility of going away. And so, yeah, this big pinning service went away. I don't know exactly how that turned out. I think maybe they were able to recover a lot of it and other people paying the pinning bills, but like, this is just going to keep happening. This content is just going to keep rotting. In 10 years and 20 years, a lot of it is just not going to be around anymore.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. And by the way, I wanted to give a shout out to all the people that are tuning in right now. Thanks. We see you. We see your chats. We see your comments. We're going to keep pinning them up here. So feel free to ask questions too. Like, this is your moment to talk directly with Casey and Aaron, and that's not every day. So we brought them here on the show to connect with you directly. So there's no dumb questions, and we're very happy.
There are no dumb questions, only dumb answers. So I'm on the hook here.
And in the meantime, I did want to shout out some really incredible stats around Ordinals. So far, we have over 75 million inscriptions to date. Since the 2 years since Casey launched the Ordinals protocol, we have 75 million inscriptions stored forever on Bitcoin. $660 million paid to miners and USD, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, $500 million. That's wild.
160 million, almost $1 billion. We're like getting like more than halfway to $1 billion. So, and then we have over $7.8 billion worth of transaction volume. And then not even to mention like all the institutional funding that is poured into the Bitcoin ecosystem, thanks to Ordinals. So, I mean, I have to say, like, I was working professionally in the Bitcoin space before Ordinals went live, and I have to say it was like super boring. Like, there was really not much going on. We didn't have like NFTs. We didn't have Bitcoin tokens. We didn't really have this activity and excitement and creation and community like this on Bitcoin. Before it was really very much about treating Bitcoin like store value, gold only. So there's been like this huge cultural shift. We call it the Bitcoin Renaissance. And that's just really changed into like this flywheel effect for the entire ecosystem. Now there's all these different builders and projects, tons and tons of communities. And maybe this is a great pivot over to you, Aaron, in you fostering these communities with Inscribing Atlantis and what you've been doing literally around the world. You've been in Asia, Europe, the US, you've been hosting these conferences. You want to tell us a little bit about that initiative? And I think also it'd be interesting to know, like, what's it been like meeting these builders, and are you excited about what they're building in the space?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I also had a similar experience where I was into Bitcoin before Ordinals, and for me, I was just like a Bitcoin enthusiast. I was like, oh my gosh, this is, the closest thing we have to perfect money, and it's obvious how this is going to play out. We don't know exactly the time frame that it will play out, but we kind of know where this is headed. Especially over the last year, I think we've seen just like an accelerated version of that timeline. But despite that like enthusiasm that I had for it, the culture around Bitcoin was very monolithic. Anyone who's in crypto that's familiar with Bitcoin maxis probably has like a stereotypical idea of like a laser eye maxi who like only eats steak and like, has a trad wife and whatever. And there's just like this very specific culture around Bitcoin. And I don't think that's because Bitcoin has to have that culture. I just think, maybe people that were already into certain things around like self-sovereignty, or like people that maybe would have been putting gold under their mattress before Bitcoin, like are a little bit more predisposed to get into it earlier. But then if you looked at crypto, like there's all this crazy stuff going on. There's so much, especially with like NFTs, there's so much more like art and cultural aspects that were kind of happening on other chains. And so I think like kind of Ordinals, we've jokingly called it like harm reduction, like clean needles for degens, because it kind of allows for that like crypto degenning to then move back to Bitcoin. And I think that's what we've seen is like, when I have these events, like, I mean, literally all around the world, it's kind of the same story. Like, it's people that have been in crypto maybe since, 2017 or whatever. But they always found like Bitcoin to either be a little bit boring, or maybe they didn't understand kind of the like hard money narrative, or they didn't feel culturally accepted by Bitcoiners, because Bitcoiners can be very like, we don't want any shitcoiners in our world, like whatever. And so, they went somewhere else, basically. Like they wanted to be in it because they wanted to have fun on the computer and hang out with other people that wanted to have fun on the computer. And crypto was just a better place to do that. And so I think the thing that like, for my Bitcoin maxi brain, the thing that I've liked about Ordinals is just to see that kind of culture emerge on Bitcoin, because I think at the end of the day, it's better that you own sats than you own any other asset, whether it's a meme coin or Ethereum or Solana or whatever. And so, even just the fact that we have NFTs and now meme coins on Bitcoin, you're cashing out into sats, right? And like that's like from my Bitcoin maxi perspective, like that's what I want people to be doing. And so there's like that kind of cultural aspect. And then I also think Ordinals kind of reopened a lot of low-hanging fruit for building on Bitcoin. I mean, there's a lot that should be made on Bitcoin that just isn't, because, Ethereum in particular, but other chains have a much more friendly dev environment. It's a lot easier to just like make a product and find kind of like a product market fit as like a dev or a builder on another chain. And I think, there's a lot of Ordinals companies that have sprung up, or companies that have like adopted Ordinals support, where it's just like giving devs more opportunities to work with Bitcoin, like and code on Bitcoin. And I think that just like makes it better for Bitcoin overall, because there's probably only like around 100 good Bitcoin devs that are like active in the space. And I think Ordinals has like way increased that number. So, there's a lot of stuff from, even just from like the financial technology standpoint, that needs to be built on Bitcoin if Bitcoin is going to become the thing that we want it to become. And so I think like, maybe you play around with Ordinals either as like a degen, or maybe you're a dev and you code up like a little like rune minting thing, or, whatever it is. And then as a result, you're working with Bitcoin natively, since Bitcoin, Ordinals and runes both are very like Bitcoin native developer environments. And then you learn like how Bitcoin works, and you figure out how you can make even more things. So yeah, it's just been cool to kind of see that shift, both culturally and in terms of like the way that people are working with the technology itself. And if you've never been to an in-person event, I definitely recommend it, because that's, there's a lot of things people won't say online that they will say in person. I don't even mean that they're like being shady. I just mean literally like they're not going to type out something that they might say at 2 a.m. at a party, And so just being able to kind of connect with people and get their real thoughts and opinions on things, like that's how you find people to work with. That's how you find people that, you could be friends with. That's how you really figure out like what's going on in the space. So, I know some people are like super anon and they don't want to like ever dox or whatever, but if you're like semi-doxed or even close to that, like I definitely recommend just like go to a Bitcoin event, go to an Ordinals event, because yeah, it's just the types of like conversations and connections that you make there. Like I always come away feeling very inspired and having like a new take on things. So yeah, that's kind of my take on stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I've been to several of the Inscribing Atlantis conferences around the world, and they're some of the best side conferences I've ever been to. Aaron and everyone you're working with, Arthur, who puts on these conferences, they pour their blood, sweat, and tears into these to make them a big success, and always bring in some of the top speakers in the space. And there really is no other comparison to having a connection like that directly, to be able to speak firsthand to these people who've launched all these incredible projects in Ordinals. So would definitely encourage you to come out to the next one. Aaron, is this
Chill.
Yeah, next one is Vegas. So we're doing May 27th, 2025. We're doing Inscribing Vegas, which is literally the day before Bitcoin Vegas, which last year the Bitcoin conference did Nashville and they had Trump as a speaker. I think they sold 22,000 tickets to that event. They're trying to like double it this year. So it's kind of like the ideal place for us to, I feel like it's home turf for us, like, you know, American Ordinals people. So yeah, we're trying to double like our capacity this time. We got like a venue that's actually 5 times the size of what we did for Nashville. So yeah, way more people. I think like the nice thing about kind of being like a side conference to the main Bitcoin conference is that, you know, the main Bitcoin conference is still sort of constrained by those initial Bitcoin cultural things. That's like where they built their base. I try to kind of make our conferences a little bit more of like a welcoming space for crypto people to come to, you know, where like it's not just like assuming that you're like reading the gospel of Michael Saylor and Satoshi and that's like, you know, you're swearing your hand on the Bitcoin standard book or whatever. Yeah, I try to kind of like bring in more like crypto aspects and do more, you know, onboarding or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, it's going to be like definitely if you're interested in Ordinals or Bitcoin and you're coming from more of the crypto side of things, I think it's like the ideal place to kind of get your hands in. And then of course I still invite all the best like Bitcoin people to speak because I feel like that's the message that I want to get out, you know? So
I love
try to make the best of both worlds.
Yeah. And one thing I want to make really transparent here is like a lot of people in the ordinal space come from other chains and also runes. Like most people, I mean, we don't know the exact percentage, of course, but it's safe to say like probably a majority of people are coming from other chains and have really brought up this ecosystem to be what it is today and launched so many projects. So yeah, if you're coming from another chain, if you're coming from if you're a different community, then yeah, you're right at home here. We're very happy to welcome you into this space and help onboard and answer questions. And I have to say, anytime that I've met Casey in person and Aaron, you guys have both been so helpful in like onboarding people and just being really patient with them and, you know, answering all the questions. And I think that's something that's really special to see in leaders in the space. So
breaking news though, who will Casey and Aaron choose to play themselves in the Hell Money movie? I'm thinking Tom Hardy for me.
No, Tom Cruise.
No.
You want Tom Hardy?
Yeah, better than Tom Cruise.
I think Tom Cruise specifically in Eyes Wide Shut would be the perfect person to play Casey, but that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
you want Tom Hardy, you want a different Tom.
Yeah, I'm jacked now.
Right, okay.
Definitely giving the James Bond vibes at the crypto ball. I was definitely feeling like the James Bond scene there, like Casino Royale kind of. But anyway, no, I dig that too.
I don't know. I play myself. I'd be happy to play myself.
If I have
like an A-list, like handsome movie star to play Casey, and then I'll just play myself. That'll be the perfect.
Any role, guys. You guys really pulled off the Matrix scene as well. So the costumes, guys. You have to check out Hell Money podcast. Obviously, the content is top quality, educational around Bitcoin, but also like these guys go all out. Like you guys dressed up as Dune. You went all out as like a Dia de los Muertos. Speaking of which, we also have to spend some time covering runes, obviously. I know we're about halfway through the space. So now the space, let's shift into the runes side of things. I think also I want to give a shout out to everybody who's commenting and asking questions. We're going to have like time for a little AMA at the very end. So stick around for that, and also stick around for $100 rare sats giveaway. Oh shoot, we also have to cover rare sats. What do we do first? Okay, maybe let's spend like some time on runes, and then we'll do rare sats, and then we'll do the rare sats giveaway and a little AMA. So like 555 is like what we have time for.
So yeah, runes. So after Inscriptions was launched, there came about a token standard on top of Inscriptions called BRC20, which, you know, it wasn't the prettiest standard, but it got very, very, very popular. And because people really like tokens, people love tokens. And I was a little bit technically incensed at the standard BRC20. So I was like, all right, like this is what the people want. And so I started working with Raf on Raphael, my apprentice, my apprentice, on this thing called Runes, which is a fungible token standard on top of Bitcoin. It's separate from inscriptions. It's a very simple standard, just to bring sort of token-like assets to Bitcoin, and they are, they're shitcoins. It's a shitcoin standard. Okay, let's.
Bitcoin.
What's that?
Shitcoins on Bitcoin.
Shitcoins on Bitcoin. Finally, it's a shitcoin standard, but it's a good standard. I like it, and I think people are really sleeping on Runes because every 3-4 months it unlocks another ticker symbol length. So the ticker started out long. They started out like 12 characters and then 11 characters. I think we're in the 10 character.
Yeah, we're either in 10 or 9 now. I think it's probably still in 10.
Yeah. So the last, and then it's going to go to 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 over the course of the next 3 years. And I think things are really going to start to heat up once we get to the 6, 5, 4 ticker lengths. The 4 and 3 ticker lengths are going to be a bloodbath. And then there's going to be entire 4 months where every few weeks, a 1 character ticker unlocks until the final runes ticker, the A ticker, the ultimate rune is locked. Unlocked.
Yeah, we should clarify. So runes all have unique ticker names, right? So this is different than somewhere like Solana where you have your Trump ticker name, but then you have the CA that's the actual thing. And so if you go to look up the Trump ticker name, you're going to see 100 different CA actual ticker names. Not
on Runes. All right. There's going to only be one Trump.
There's only going to be one Trump ticker on Runes.
Right. The CA, it's the CA in Runes is the name of the rune. For example, dog go to the moon.
What does CA stand for?
That is the CA in a way.
What's
and then
CA?
It's the string when you do like a ticker.
Oh, contract address.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We don't know these things.
Yeah.
But then now we actually do have off-chain names on Magic Eden. So we have just dog. So you can look it up and find it dog, and you can also redirect and link out to Twitter and find conversations.
What happens when there's a dog rune? Elizabeth Olsen. What happens when the actual 3-character dog rune?
that team is going to have to find the right way to register it, but that is
you're it's not a me problem, it's a dev problem.
Yeah, one problem at a time, one fire at a time. We're also about to unlock some more things on Magic Eden, which are going to make runes even more fungible per se, since we were talking about the UTXO issues before, but. Anyway,
there's a lot of problems.
There's a lot. We don't want to get too deep technically here, but runes are becoming more and more fungible. And I think one thing that's interesting, as a lot of traders know, is friction is bullish. When there's extra friction, it's that means you're probably early to a space. For example, there was a lot of friction just to onboard to Bitcoin initially. The first company I joined in the space was Xverse. I was part of the founding team, and Xverse, we were the first digital Bitcoin wallet app where you can have Bitcoin, and we were looking at L2s as well, stacks, and there wasn't really a wallet that existed that was so easy to buy and sell Bitcoin. There was Lightning and stuff, but yeah, so it is interesting to see how developments are coming, and this is unlocking the space more and more for more users that are less technically advanced like myself. Yeah. But I will say, I think in a way being early does help. And because there's still friction in runes, it's not too late. It is still possible to be very early in this space.
I think it's interesting to talk a little bit about why that friction exists. Just if anybody has any, ideas for, solving it, I have ideas. So the main issue is that you have this UTXO model. You have these individual little piles of Bitcoin that contain sats. They can contain inscriptions. And with runes, they can contain any amount of any number of runes. The current issue is that you can sort of easily buy an entire UTXO worth of runes. But if you only want to buy 100 runes, and there's the UTXO with 1,000 runes in there, the current platforms don't make it particularly easy to just buy a subset of the runes in a UTXO. And I think this can be solved. My preferred solution is somebody should write a platform where you have market makers that run always online wallet software. They can just run it on their computer at home. It has their private keys, and they basically pre-configure it to sell runes at particular prices that they like pre-configure. And then the market takers, they can connect to this platform and they get connected with a market maker. And because the market maker is online and the market taker is online, because they're placed in the order, they can interactively construct a transaction to buy any amount of runes in a UTXO. This also solves the mempool sniping problem, where you can sort of pick apart a transaction and you can like steal somebody's transaction. It's not really theft in the sense that, you know, you don't lose money, you don't lose your runes, your transaction just doesn't go through. So this idea of always online market makers, I'm not going to do it, but I wish somebody else would do it, because I think you could put together a really, really, really compelling product. And it's very simple. You just have users run a piece of software, keep their wallet online, and be there to interactively construct transactions. And this interactive transaction construction, it solves a whole bunch of problems. You know, you could sell runes without having to split them apart. A market maker could run and say, hey, I'm willing to pay this floor price for any inscription in a given collection, and online do that. I'm willing to sell any inscription in this collection for some floor price. You could actually make the on-chain trading experience sort of optimized. You actually come up with the best possible online trading experience. So I'm sort of waiting for somebody to do this. I think if you do it right, you make it simple, it's a very powerful technique. And the other thing that I want to see is I want to see a fully centralized exchange for a Bitcoin only, fully centralized degen exchange where you can just fucking deposit your runes, watch the fucking red and green lines go up and down, do your instantaneous buy and sell orders, and then cash out on chain. Even with Solana, we've seen all these difficulties that when the network is overloaded, it just sort of is not available. I think these two things in combination would make the trading experience very good. Optimizing the on-chain experience with always online market maker wallets, and optimizing the off-chain experience for the full like degen casino. So we're still so early, is what I'm saying.
So early.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think that's something that's really exciting about Magic Eden, is that we are creating this DEX to ultimately be for all chains, all assets, all communities. Already people are using Magic Eden app to swap over from Trump to Sold back into Bitcoin. And we're seeing this flow back into the Bitcoin ecosystem, back into the Bitcoin space. And yeah, we love to see it. We love to see a cross-chain world exist. And I think some of the smartest people are cross-chain people. I know so many people in like some of the top trading groups that are very cross-chain, and they go for where they're seeing the best narratives and the best conviction plays, and no matter what the chain is, because there's so much talent across these different ecosystems and interesting things happening. So I think we do need to be adaptive to that trend that we're starting to see. Okay, so I would love to also spend some time on rare sats. I think this is one of the most exciting, interesting things that is completely unique to Bitcoin that Casey, you also, in a way, invented. And I will say there's a rare sats giveaway at the end of this space, so stay tuned. Also, I want to give a shout out before we get
some good sats. If you're giving away some fucking trash sats, I'm going to be disappointed.
$100 worth of rare sats. To be honest, I haven't decided which kind I would get. I was leaning towards pizza. Nobody doesn't like pizza, let's be honest. But you know, Casey, if you want to say a specific rare sat I should give away, you let me know. But I one of the reasons why we're doing this space in the first place is because yesterday was the Ordinals 2-year anniversary since Ordinals went live on mainnet. And so this whole week we are celebrating on Me on Bitcoin account. If you don't already follow Me on Bitcoin account, hop over, check it out. We're going to be celebrating. We're doing different activations. And tomorrow we're having a 2-year anniversary reunion space for the entire Ordinals family, all the Ordinals ecosystem. Some of the top builders are going to come onto the space and talk and reminisce and share stories. And really, I think if you're new to the space, it's one of the best places to go and just listen in, hop up on stage, ask some questions. and be part of the community, because some of the people who've been here since the beginning are going to be on that space. So yeah, really excited. Just save the time for tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern time. And now, since I've done that plug, let's go back to rare sats. Casey, what are rare sats? And yeah, just let's just go with that. Let's just break it down from there. What are rare sats?
So as a consequence of giving each of the 2.1 quadrillion Satoshis on Bitcoin a unique identity, they all have a bunch of interesting properties. So each Bitcoin block creates some new number of sats. And so you can trace these sats back to the block in which they were mined, the date in which they were mined, the transactions that they've been involved in.
Can you talk about like the pizza sats just as an example? Because I feel like that's...
I actually don't know what the... Oh yeah, the pizza sats.
Yeah, people, I feel like as soon as these, yeah, you said as an example, people get it. They like clicks.
Yeah, so back in the day on the Bitcoin Talk Forum, I think maybe the first purchase of anything for Bitcoin was some guy saying that he wanted to buy 2 Papa John's pizzas. I believe it's Papa John's, Papa Bless, for 10,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And so, rare sat hunters identified the transaction that the pizza that paid the Bitcoin for the pizzas, and those sats in that transaction are still floating around today in the miasmatic vapors of the Bitcoin UTXO set, and they were able to find those individual sats. So they actually trace from that transaction. It's like if you paid for a parking ticket with $300 worth of pennies, later tracking down those pennies that were paid for that parking ticket. So they have all sorts of properties. They have the block that they come from, the date that they were mined. They also have the number. So the sats are all numbered from 0 to 2.1 quadrillion, which is 2.1 million, the number of Bitcoin, times 21 million times 100 million, the number of Satoshis per Bitcoin. I like the schedule-based rarity. That's my favorite rarity tier. So it's the first sat of every block is uncommon or better. The rest of the sats in the block are common or trash sats, as some people call them. And then once every 2 weeks, there's a difficulty adjustment. The first sat of the first block of the difficulty adjustment is rare. And then every 4 years, there is a halving. The first block of the halving is epic. Mm-hmm. Yep. And then every 36 years, I think, every 6 halvings, the halving block and the difficulty adjustment block happen on the same block. And that is a legendary sat. We have not even had a legendary sat yet.
We are still so... Wow.
Yeah, that's slated for, I think, 2036.
2032.
2032, yeah. There's going to be the legendary sat. The numbers, people like the numbers. You can find palindrome sats. Mm-hmm. There are also named sats. There's a way that you can go from the numbers to a string of the characters A through Z, and you can find sats with particular names. Those are actually maybe my favorite because they're still sort of indie and unappreciated. But yeah, there's a whole wealth of collectability to these attributes. Yes. Yep, indeed.
Yeah.
Yep.
And actually, Magic Eden currently supports 29 of these attributes that are indexed on the Bitcoin chain. So essentially, you can go into our marketplace and actually go through and see which ones are available for purchase. You can and also read about what the different attributes are. There's palindrome attributes. So basically the number is like a palindrome number, which is really cool. It's one of my favorite ones. And all of them have different symbols associated. So the palindrome one is like a butterfly. The pizza sat, you get your pizza emoji. And if you go into your wallet and let's say you buy an ordinal that was inscribed onto a rare sat, those rare sats actually appear in your wallet as well, depending on the wallet, at least for Magic Eden wallet. So yeah, it is really cool to see something that's completely unique to Bitcoin and really pays homage to Bitcoin history and Bitcoin culture. Now, thanks to you, Casey. And I think it's something that, if you get into the ecosystem, it's something that we all love. And actually, one of the top projects in this space, Pizza Ninjas, it's all inscribed on pizza sats.
Yep. It's fun. There's a lot of little crunchy details.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally. Yeah. Okay. So should we cover L2s at all? Is that something that you guys are like interested in? Like L2s happening on Bitcoin? Like,
oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can tell you about L2s. They're all bullshit.
I knew he was.
Nobody has a single L2 that like there's
Lightning.
I was gonna say the only L2 on Bitcoin is Lightning. People are all these projects, but with these kinds of things, you really need to wait until they're launched to know if they function. Everybody is all full of hot air. They're all talking about how their L2 is like incredible, but as far as I know, none of them work. None of them work. They're not real yet.
They haven't launched yet.
Yeah, which is the same as not real. They
a lot of them will launch soon.
but when things launch, a lot of the time they don't work. They don't fucking work. They're a bunch of fucking bullshit.
They're not trustless.
Yeah, or they're just like fucking
stupid.
They're just a multi-sig. We have launched L2s on Ethereum that are multi-sigs, right? I don't, it's not like I don't want L2s to exist. I want L2s to exist. I would love it if there was a degen. No, they don't work, press. They don't fucking work, okay? Nobody uses them. Things don't work until people use them. Then you know if they work, right? So it's very much a I'll believe it when I see it point of view. You can basically just assume that anybody who's shilling an L2 is a scammer. They're trying to make you part with your hard-earned Bitcoin until they have an actual usable product that you can like read the code and like see how it works. They're all fucking stupid. None of them exist. We can't be falling into this like Web3 like hopium bullshit. Okay, we need to have higher standards. Okay, we're not accepting fucking L2s that are fucking multi-sigs. Are you fucking kidding me? Like,
okay, high standards in place. Hypothetically, high standards in place. It would be helpful to have Bitcoin L2s though, in terms of like kind of to your point of what you were saying earlier.
Yeah, I want a fucking pony. I want a fucking unicorn that flies me to Japan whenever I want to eat ramen instantaneously. Yeah, that'd be fucking incredible, right? But it's important. I think it's like a challenge for people to realize that not everything that we imagine could exist can exist. Like these things exist in a space of very hard engineering trade-offs, where a lot of the time, if you want one property like high speed, you're going to lose another property like decentralization. And so I think it's easy to have a sort of overly optimistic viewpoint of like, okay, yeah, we're definitely going to get the Solana L2 on Bitcoin, which is like instantaneous everything. But that, we're very far away from that. And I think right now the best L2 design that I know of is Lightning. And obviously Lightning has a lot of problems in the actual rollout. It's hard to run a Lightning node. Arc is another interesting one. Arc does also have a lot of similar problems, like liquidity concerns, where the operator has to tie up a lot of liquidity to facilitate these transactions. So I hope that one appears, but right now they're all bullshit. Don't give them your money, okay? Just buy fucking degen JPEGs.
It's the same story as crypto, right? Where it's like there is a lot of money to be made off of a marketing narrative, and so like literally, I mean, like there have been people that have approached like RAF, I know as an example, and they've been like, hey, I have millions of dollars of VC funding together. Do you have an idea for how a Bitcoin L2 could work? Like, I think we can make one together. And it's like,
wow,
bro, like just I think like the VC pump and dump narrative is still alive and well wherever they can pull it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, just because the market wants something doesn't mean that it's possible, but you can really form marketing words around something being possible, especially a product where people think naively, and I think wrongly, they think, oh, I'm too stupid to understand this. That's why I don't get it. That's why I don't understand why this works, because I'm just not smart like these genius devs that are making it. It's not the case. If someone can't explain something to you in a way that you can understand, it's probably because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, that's just point blank. So yeah, if an L2 can like give
what's the hot L2 right now? What's the hot L2?
I mean, I could definitely name some, but I mean, I think we're coming to a close soon. I will say,
you unlocked a whole beast here, Elizabeth.
I think it is pretty interesting to hear some of the pitches out there. I think regardless of the technology itself, it is definitely interesting and hopeful to see funding pour into this space, where I hope to see that it is responsibly used, and it does go directly to hiring developers and bringing them into the space and onboarding from there. Like I was onboarded through a Bitcoin L2 some years ago, and like that has gotten me into, learning, diving even deeper into Bitcoin. And so, yeah, I would hope that like it'll be a nice way to onboard people. And
I definitely agree that the enthusiasm and the interest in building it is definitely a good thing. Like it's nice that we have money pursuing these things. I wish this money was maybe a little bit more wisely used, but it is a nice contrast, to a few years ago when we had Lightning devs sucking dick under bridges to get like a few dollars so that they could fund their GitHub Pro account. There's definitely money to go into dev work on Bitcoin, which is great.
Yeah, and all roads lead back to Bitcoin. Yeah. That's really
exactly. Okay, so we are actively pulling the winner for the $100 worth of rare sats. Casey, do you have a rare sat you think I should give away, or any particular?
You should give away an uncommon.
I would have to look it up. I need to look it up. I haven't checked recently.
Probably around 100.
Yeah, I'd say an uncommon. Uncommons are juicy. Okay. I love uncommons.
Okay.
That's the Rotomore rarity schemes.
I hate that name.
You hate the name Rotomore?
Yeah, I just don't.
Nobody goes sweeping uncommons right now because I need to go buy some. Don't pull that floor on me. But yeah, actually, I'm also going to go shopping for some rare sats for a rare sats treasure hunt that we're going to be doing this Friday. So stay tuned for that. That's a little alpha there. And then also, like I said, tomorrow is the reunion space, the grand reunion space, 12 p.m. Eastern time. Be there. It's gonna be a doozy. It's gonna be fun. And yeah, in the meantime, while we're pulling this winner, Casey and Aaron, is there anything that you guys think people should know about, or anything, closing thoughts you want to have, maybe something you're working on, something that where you think people should go to find out more information? Yeah, any closing thoughts here?
Oh, Aaron.
I have just like a very generic message, which is like, I think probably a lot of people are coming out of this weekend feeling like a lot of emotional roller coaster, complicated feelings about the Trump meme coin and all the fallout from that. And I think I think it's good to kind of separate in your mind like meme coins from Bitcoin, or crypto from Bitcoin. And that's not, obviously we've said some disparaging things about crypto, but really like...
We'll say more disparaging things about crypto.
But it's like, it is like a casino and it's fun, right? But, I think if at the end of this cycle you haven't stacked any sats, you have no one to blame but yourself. And so just like be smart and make sure that you're like being responsible, because Bitcoin is the only winner. Yeah. That's really kind of, everything else is kind of a zero-sum game, and that doesn't mean that it's not a fun game, but it's a game. And
I'll really echo that. Like, you should be trying to get Bitcoin, stack sats. It's very hard to beat Bitcoin. And this has been a theme for the last, 15 years, 16 years that Bitcoin has been around, that if you are actively trading, if you're pursuing these things like mining or whatever, it's very hard to beat buying and holding Bitcoin, even compared to investing in the most successful companies in this space. If you go back and you look at those investments and you're like, if I just put that money into Bitcoin, how would I have done? You probably would have done a lot better. There are always anecdotes about people winning against Bitcoin, and sometimes people do strike it rich, but these are few and far between, and the average is much more dismal. So,
but also, you know, if that's a game you want to play, which of course many, if not most of us here enjoy playing that game, like, you know, you'll notice if you cashed out your Trump coin to Solana also went down. You know, like Solana also went down over the weekend. How much did Bitcoin go down over the weekend? I think it was less than 1%, if even that. I mean, it's basically held steady. If you can do your you know, gambling and degeneracy on Bitcoin and cash out into sats, whether that's like runes, ordinals, whatever, like I think that's a better baseline. So maybe that's a way
to be clear, that cash out into Bitcoin, not.
I was about to say you've already.
I'd say play that game on ordinals or runes instead, so that you're cashing out into Bitcoin, because that's like a better baseline to be setting for yourself. So that's another way to think of it. Maybe if you want the different levels of harm reduction.
Totally. What is the one thing you think people should know about the space right now, about ordinals?
I mean, obviously we'll see what happens politically, and that's kind of how we started things. But, you know, Bitcoin is uniquely poised to have mass adoption over the next 4 years. What is that?
That's a snake. It's poised.
I thought you were doing like a slam dunk or something.
I thought it was a chicken because I saw somebody commented chicken. Okay.
That's also what I thought. I thought it was like a chicken running with its head cut off or something. Yeah, no, I mean, like Bitcoin is basically poised for a huge run up. Like, and I think ordinals and runes follow that, you know, and like, as I said, like just the assets on Bitcoin, I think are going to do better than assets elsewhere. And at the very least, you literally still have that tiny amount of sats that you're
generational wealth,
right? Like, so, you know, I think that's kind of the thing to be thinking about is like, I'm not bullish on any other chain. Like I'm literally only bullish on Bitcoin, and I maybe could not be more bullish than I am on Bitcoin. Yeah. So like, it is what it is, you know? Yeah. Get to Bitcoin if you're not here already.
Yeah, let's go. All right. With that said, I'm going to name our winner is Stefan Brunovic. Congratulations.
Woo! Congratulations, Stefan.
A Rare Sats owner. If you're not already, thanks for joining in and commenting on the space and being part of it. Love the energy and passion there. And yeah, thanks so much for joining today. Really loved having you guys on. Yeah, hope we can do it again. And yeah, like I said, guys who are tuning in, listening, please join in. Feel free to join in on the reunion tomorrow. It's going to be a fun time. We are celebrating the whole 2-year anniversary this entire week. We've got a number of fun activities and things to participate in. You can check out the agenda on the Me on Bitcoin handle. Be sure to give Casey and Aaron a follow to receive the latest on everything that's happening in their world, and also upcoming Inscribing Vegas during Bitcoin Vegas. We'll see you out there. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.